Welcome to Channel 13 Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock. In the aftermath of the Oklahoma City bombing, news reporting has focused on the growing militia movement in America. Reports center principally on the Michigan militia as the possible breeding ground for those responsible.
But how much do we know about the militia movement here? Last fall, long before the Oklahoma City bombing, investigative reporter Bill Hussung began to learn everything he could about Indiana militias. And all this week on Eyewitness News, Bill joins us to tell us what he's learned. Bill.
And Tom, this is a fascinating but also a disturbing story. Over the next several nights, we'll take you inside the hearts and minds of Indiana militia members. These are Hoosiers who believe the federal government is trying to enslave us all. Hoosiers who are convinced open warfare is imminent. We'll introduce you to Hoosiers preparing for war. Tonight, an overview of our five-part investigation, Patriot Powder Keg.
We're at the point of no return.
What the militias, what the Second Amendment is about, because it's not about hunting ducks, it's about politicians.
With liberty and justice for all. As long as we fight to keep it that way.
The views of Indiana militia members echo across the state. In small towns and quiet suburbs, people like Dillsboro's Dennis Cochran believe a war is coming.
Yeah, there's going to be a big battle.
Cochran owns and operates the Dillsboro Family Restaurant in Dearborn County on the Indiana-Ohio border. Like most militiamen across Indiana, he's a white rural male convinced a worldwide conspiracy is underway to enslave the American people.
It's hard to believe that a government could be so evil, so corrupt, kill people without blinking, having a president. This president, I firmly believe, along with several million other people, this president is God's judgment on the United States.
Militiamen believe the first step in this plot is the federal assault weapons ban, a move to take guns from civilians before the invasion of United Nations troops.
They're not going to get our guns.
Cochran believes a New World Order dictatorship will force militiamen to accept an implanted computer tracking chip militiamen call the mark of the beast.
We will not accept the mark of the beast. Now, that mark of the beast, we believe right now, and it's being done in several different states where they inject the little chip, computer chip, in the back of your the back of your hand or in your forehead.
Cochran's views are not isolated. Virtually all the militiamen we spoke with during a 4-month investigation share this paranoia. Take anger toward the federal government, a belief in worldwide conspiracy theories, couple it with a dose of anti-Semitism, it's a very dangerous recipe. These passions fueling Indiana militiamen are the same passions that sparked Waco and may have motivated alleged Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. The militia powder keg is waiting to ignite across Indiana.
These people are foreign people who have brought upon and perpetrated upon this nation the greatest deception in the history of the world.
Groups tracking militia activity, including the Anti-Defamation League, fear these Hoosiers are preparing for civil war.
People who are clearly fanatics, who have a strong ideology that is opposed to what I would say is organized society as such.
Last month in Indianapolis, alleged militiaman Mark Burton used a semi-automatic rifle to open fire on sheriff's deputies, wounding 3. Burton reportedly bragged to friends about his militia involvement. Only tear gas ended this standoff. More than a half dozen Indiana militia figures already face trouble with the law. Ripley County militia leader Mark Adams engaged in a 4-hour standoff with a state police SWAT team. Another militia leader is charged with allegedly using a car to block a federal motorcade. Yet another militiaman was charged with public intoxication after allegedly marching around a county courthouse armed with an assault rifle and 29 rounds. Militia leaders often travel to Indianapolis for meetings of the Sovereign Patriots, Indiana's most radical patriot group. The leader here is Mark Stevens, considered too radical even by the standards of many militias. Here it's not just anger toward the federal government, but anti-Semitism and racism as well. Some experts believe militias represent the far-right lunatic fringe always present in American politics. Other experts believe they represent A new paranoia brewing on the edges of our political culture. Militias see themselves as patriots fighting to protect the rights of all Americans. It's believed roughly 200 Hoosiers belonged to militias 2 years ago. But today, fueled by Waco and the federal assault weapons ban, as many as 2,000 Hoosiers may belong to militias in 40 or so counties. One moderate militia organization divides Indiana into 8 brigades. Militias across the state are organized by county and go by a variety of names. In Evansville, the Tri-County Carbineers, one such group. Membership in the Carbineers requires an assault rifle and at least 100 rounds of ammunition, preferably armor-piercing. While Indiana militias are loosely organized, they often look to self-styled militia General Linda Thompson for leadership.
If we have no other options than throw these people out by force, that's what we should do, because there's nothing left to us. I have nothing to lose. I'm not going to die and leave this country under one world dictatorship for my children.
Tomorrow night, the Patriot powder keg is already igniting across Indiana. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we'll detail how militia beliefs are already increasing the likelihood of violence across the state. A number of disturbing incidents demonstrate how real the threat actually is.
Now, in other states, in fact, in the Oklahoma City bombing case, the militias say they had kicked out bombing suspect Timothy McVeigh. Here in Indiana, are there different levels, splinter groups?
Excellent question. There are very real factions competing in Indiana. One faction fears the coming war is inevitable. Another faction is preparing for a coming war but hopes it can be avoided. And that appears to be the major split.
All right,
Civil
Bill.
war.
Civil war.
Bill Hassung, thank you. See you
you.
later. The militia passions that may have motivated the Oklahoma City bombing are brewing across Indiana. Eyewitness News investigative reporter Bill Hassung has been tracking these Hoosier passions for more than 4 months. Bill joins us now with part 2 of his 5-part investigative series, Patriot Powder Keg. Bill?
Tom, and good evening. Indiana militia members are obsessed with the notion the government is out to kill them and enslave all Americans. Parts of this Hoosier Patriot powder keg have already blown. On April 10th in Indianapolis, alleged militiaman Mark Burton opened fire on police, wounding 3 sheriff's deputies.
We advised him that it was the sheriff's department, and he said, come and get me.
Only tear gas ended this standoff.
That's the bullet?
Yeah, that's the bullet. It's a cartridge.
Burton bragged to friends about his militia involvement.
Did he talk about the militia?
Every so often, yeah, just little things about how the government's going to cause the people to turn against the government and fight them over the rights for freedom of arms or some kind of stuff.
This is not an isolated incident. The militia beliefs that may have motivated alleged Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh are boiling across Indiana. These Indiana militia members are obsessed with the idea the next Waco will happen in Indiana at any moment. Parts of the Hoosier Patriot powder keg have already blown. It's February 23rd, and for many militia members, their worst fears appear about to be realized. A militia alert has gone out from the rural roads of Ripley County. A state police SWAT team and 24 state and county police surround the house of Ripley County militia leader Mark Adams.
I believe they came here with the intent of leaving here with me one way or another, dead or alive.
Police organized this small army to arrest Adams on the relatively minor matter of failing to appear at a child custody hearing. Police know Adams is a hardcore militiaman, that he rejects the authority of the court system. Police believe Adams is bunkered down, expecting another Waco.
They wanted an excuse to have another incident like went on in Waco.
What happens next shows just how close this powder keg came to blowing. In Indianapolis, self-styled militia General Linda Thompson issues a militia red alert.
3 states' militias were on alert and prepared to come there and defend those people.
In fact, these 4 Hoosier militiamen were prepared to die that afternoon with Adams. They crawled on their bellies through this field, sneaking through police lines to join Adams.
I know where I'm going to go when I die, and I know what's going to happen after they shoot me out here. I know that the people will wake up.
Remarkably, the confrontation ends without violence when Linda Thompson, negotiating by phone with police, convinced Adams to accept a court date. The incident shows how ready Hoosier militiamen are to die for their anti-government beliefs.
And if it takes me dying for the rest of the world to wake up, that's the way it'll have to be.
You expected to die?
I expected to go that day.
Because what was going to happen?
Look what they did to them little children in Waco.
Militia General Linda Thompson herself has problems with the law. The self-styled general is facing charges of using a car to allegedly block a federal motorcade. When we try to talk to Thompson following an initial court date, she's in full retreat.
I am tired of you following me around. I am tired of you following me around and harassing me.
Across Indiana, militia members see themselves as strict constitutionalists, but often the way in which they interpret the Constitution lands them in jail. Another militiaman, Patriot Gary Montgomery, is so committed to his anti-government beliefs, he spent 30 days in jail. Montgomery even declared himself a political prisoner. Police arrested Montgomery after a traffic stop for failing to produce a driver's license. Militiamen believe driver's licenses are another form of government oppression. A dozen or so militia leaders attended Montgomery's trial and conviction.
America in 1995, I believe we're in the police.
Well, it points out the oppressiveness of government, doesn't it?
And if we don't stand...
Yet another example of the danger tied to the passions of Hoosier militiamen is the case of Tri-County Carbineer Jeff Finn.
I know what I'm going to tell him, that I stood and fought as long as God gave me air to breathe.
1 week after this meeting of the Tri-County Carbineers, Finn was arrested for allegedly marching around the Warwick County Courthouse drunk, armed with an assault rifle and 29 rounds of ammunition. Warwick County is also the headquarters of the North American Militia Council and its leader, Joe Holland. Just last October, federal agents with weapons drawn raided the offices, confiscating records and cash. The U.S. Attorney's Office won't discuss the investigation. Later this week, you'll hear from a variety of experts who say it's only a matter of time before these militia passions lead to real violence in Indiana. They say the fuse on this Patriot powder keg is burning.
Bill, it seems as though they cling to their beliefs with almost a gospel-like zeal.
Yes, they do. They are passionate in their belief that the federal government is out to enslave us, and as you saw tonight, they're willing to fight.
With a religious fervor.
With a religious fervor, and we'll show you later this week that there is a real fundamental Christian strain in a lot of their beliefs.
But some of the beliefs sound to those who may not cling to the tenets almost paranoid.
Exactly.
All right. Bill Hussung.
Thanks,
you. Bill.
Eye-opening
Good
series.
story.
Thank you. All week, Bill Hussung and the Eyewitness News investigators have introduced us to Hoosiers preparing for war against the federal government. Tonight, their 4-month probe looks at who is involved in Indiana militia groups. You may be surprised. They include some who are on the government's payroll. The passions fueling far right-wing groups, including the Michigan militia, are far more widespread than you might believe. In Indianapolis, militia passions are infiltrating our most powerful institution. Tonight, Eyewitness reporter Bill Hussung has more.
And good evening. Tonight we introduce you to a militia leader leading a surprising double life and take you undercover inside Indiana's most militant Patriot group.
From a tyrannical
Jim Heath is a veteran sergeant with the Indianapolis Police Department.
And some incidents in the last few years, or last 2 years, have looked like our government is beginning to get tyrannical.
Heath supervises field officers on these north side streets. He's devoted 29 years to law enforcement.
And so people armed themselves again, thinking, whoa, we may, this is running along the parallels of what we had with the British government. Now we got the same thing with our own government. This is Johnson County militia.
Sergeant Heath is also a militia leader and can see the day when he might have to choose between police and the militia.
Then the militia would take some kind of action. They would stand in. If it was the police or whether it was the federal government, it's exactly the same thing that happened back in 1776.
Heath, like all militiamen, sees signs the federal government is the enemy, just as British tyranny was more than 200 years ago.
What happened in a week?
Heath is a perfect example of how militia passions have infiltrated our most powerful institutions. Militiamen don't always look like wild-eyed radicals. They're often our neighbors, and even in Jim Heath's case, our public servants. Heath says his eyes were opened by this document, Operation Vampire Killer, Police Against the New World Order. The document is widely circulated among militiamen and lays out worldwide conspiracy theories detailing plans to enslave the American people. Heath, like militiamen across the country, believes the coming war is a battle between the forces of Christ and Satan. Heath argues if Christ were here today...
If he were here today with the weaponry that we have today, he would say, sell your garments and buy an assault rifle, because that is going to reach out, whereas 70% of the people do survive handguns.
Sergeant Heath says many of the laws he's supposed to enforce are unconstitutional, and he won't enforce them. Heath would only cite the seatbelt law as one example. This Indianapolis police sergeant is a leader in the Johnson County militia and helps coordinate events like gas mask training sessions for the group. Heath also attends and speaks at meetings of the Sovereign Patriots, a group so radical, even many Indiana militias reject it. At a recent meeting, Heath explains how he interprets the law as a policeman.
God's laws, which come first, and man's laws, which come second.
Heath, a veteran police officer, tells the group Islamic law should be the crime-fighting model.
You don't have much crime in the Islamic laws. You put crime over there, you're done. They kill you. Same way with the Muslims. You don't find criminals over there.
Just feet from where Sergeant Heath speaks, you'll find anti-Semitic books for sale. These books detail alleged Jewish plots to control the world. They even discuss how to punish Jews for their crimes. Sergeant Heath offers a passing comment about Indianapolis Mayor Steve Goldsmith, referring to the mayor as Goldstein.
We've seen power corrupt, abuse of power with kings and queens, mayors. My Lord, look at Mayor Goldsmith. What do we call him? No, I'm not saying that. Well, we're calling Goldstein.
You know his address, by the way?
No, I don't know his address yet. You know, when a man can't give his address, doesn't it kind of prove that he's scared? He's afraid of the things that he's doing. He's not man enough to stand up.
Sergeant Heath's involvement with the Patriot shows just how deep the anger in our communities is running. During this same meeting of the Sovereign Patriots, even a freshman state representative embraced the group's views. State Representative Irene Heffley.
But I know that my ideas aren't any different than your ideas. I don't think we need to rehash that. What you need to do is formulate a plan with very specific goals.
Amen.
Representative Heffley tells the group how happy she is about the day this man, Sovereign Patriots leader Mark Stevens, showed up at her door. Stevens left another militia group because his views were too extreme even for them. Heffley tells the Patriots she and 9 other legislators are united as a mini caucus on militia issues. This letter, sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee, urges a full investigation of the federal government's, quote, stormtrooper tactics at Waco. The letter is signed by Heffley and 8 other state lawmakers. Now, not all Indiana militias are anti-Semitic, but the fear of an invasion by United Nations troops is nearly universal. So is the belief gun control is the first step in a one-world government plan.
But mainly we are to protect our rights, our fellow citizens' rights, just as our forefathers did in 1776, stood up and went to arms, were willing to die for their fellow citizens. And I salute you, fellow militia members, because you have that dedication to God and country.
Tonight at 11 o'clock, you'll hear what the Chief of Police has to say about Sergeant Heath's militia involvement. Tomorrow at 6, Part 4 of Patriot Powder Keg, introduce you to a Johnson County gunsmith, another Hoosier militiaman, prepared for the worst. You'll also hear from police throughout the state concerned about this Hoosier Patriot Powder Keg.
Bill, Sergeant Heath's interpretation of the life of Christ is certainly different than what a lot of people are brought up to believe, but in America, in a democratic republic, you can believe and say pretty much what you want. However, if you are a police officer, does that put you in violation of policy.
We will have more on that at 11 o'clock. The chief of police has seen our report and says he right now is concerned about what Sergeant Heath has to say, but he has to look and see where the sergeant's First Amendment rights may conflict with the department. This matter has already been put under police department administrative review, and there may be a possible internal affairs investigation. We'll have more at 11.
Possibly a First Amendment issue here.
It is definitely a First Amendment issue. We'll have to see what the police department determines.
Remarkable report, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All week, Eyewitness News investigative reporter Bill Hassang has been taking you inside the hearts and the minds of Indiana militia members. His 4-month investigation discovered that 4 days before the Oklahoma City bombing, Indiana militiamen were focusing on Oklahoma as a key state in the militia movement. Bill is here now with part 4 of Patriot Powder Keg.
And Tom, good evening. Indiana militiamen are obsessed with fighting the federal government. Bizarre militia conspiracy theories are often accepted by seemingly normal Hoosiers. Tonight in part 4 of Patriot Powder Keg, we take a peek inside the heart of one militia member and take you undercover to a meeting of the Sovereign Patriots. Johnson County gunsmith Gary Frazier is a friendly fellow.
Oh, jeez. I thought you had a scope on him, and he said, "Borside."
Frazier could easily be your neighbor. He's a perfect example of how seemingly bizarre militia beliefs are accepted, not always by wild-eyed radicals, but often by seemingly normal Americans. Do you fear the U.S. government as we know it could be overthrown, and is that in part what you're preparing for?
Absolutely. I actually think it's already been somewhat infiltrated, to a great extent. It's already overthrown to some degree.
Frazier is typical of Hoosier militiamen. They believe a worldwide socialist communist conspiracy aimed at a one-world dictatorship starts with the president.
Socialist. There's no question about it. I don't think what he is.
President Clinton's a socialist.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's any secret about that. That's a wide open scandal, in my opinion.
Militiamen believe the federal government and United Nations troops are plotting to enslave Hoosiers in prison camps. Eyewitness News obtained this militia document allegedly showing the worldwide enslavement zones international troops will police.
You're talking about intern camps. I would say that's a possibility if you become a dissident, if you're not going to cooperate. But I mean, I suppose as long as you're a good boy and do what they tell you, you might.
Internment camps.
Yeah, that's another subject, too. It gets more complicated. But we're sure that there are a lot of these prisons that are being built are not for criminals, they're for the public.
Frazier is a leader in the relatively moderate Johnson County militia. The anger these Hoosiers feel toward the federal government was clearly on display 4 days before the Oklahoma City bombing at a meeting of the Indiana Sovereign Patriots. Militia members are obsessed with getting the federal government out of their lives.
We need a governor that would get into that, and then that governor's position and say, federal government, you're done in this state.
Yes.
We are now sovereign. If we have to, we'll print our own money.
Just days before the Oklahoma City bombing, the Sovereign Patriots talk about Oklahoma as a key battleground. This militiaman is talking about efforts to get legislative resolutions declaring individual states sovereign from alleged federal tyranny.
The sovereignty goes back to the states. This is what will happen. Now they're doing it in Oklahoma. They're going to try to do it in Utah.
One day before the Oklahoma City tragedy, we traveled to Seattle to talk with Bill Wasmuth of the Center for Malicious Harassment. Wasmuth tracks militias full-time. Are the militias dangerous?
Yes, they are.
And they're dangerous, how so?
Well, I think they're dangerous because they preach the resolution of problems at the point of a gun.
All week we've introduced you to Hoosiers who belong to militias and believe a worldwide conspiracy is afoot to enslave Americans. The question is why.
People that don't fit in the power structure, or people that feel like they're losing something, or people feel they don't have an impact on society, don't have an impact on government, and they found the militias as a way to make a voice, as to make a stand.
One day before the Oklahoma City bombing, Wasmuth emphasized that with 2,000 Hoosiers meeting across the state, planning for war, accepting bizarre beliefs, the threat of violence is real.
I think we'd be sticking our heads in the sand if we believed that all that can be out there for any period of time without somebody listening to it and making a decision, say, in my case, those conditions have all been met, therefore it's time for me to get my gun and take things into my own hands. That's going to happen.
Also before the Oklahoma tragedy, the Anti-Defamation League labeled Indiana a powder keg.
Because we are concerned that citizens, groups of citizens, organized into militias, and these are loosely knit groups from around the country, are preparing themselves to take up arms for possible attacks on federal officers, federal groups, etc.
The Indianapolis field office of the ATF is not amused.
My concern is you've got armed individuals who are going to try and stop law enforcement from exercising or performing their official duties.
Militiamen across Indiana fear the war is coming.
You're concerned about the New World Order is they want to disarm you.
Disarm me and enslave me. That's it. Disarm me and enslave me. I will not be a slave. Death is kinder.
Roughly 2,000 Hoosiers belong to militias in perhaps 4 Indiana counties. Tomorrow we'll introduce you to one Hoosier who's played a leadership role in the militia movement nationwide.
Clarify for us this issue of the Oklahoma City talk prior to the bombing.
Many militia members and patriots seem to believe that they were close to a victory in Oklahoma, having the legislature pass a resolution declaring Oklahoma sovereign. Now, according to these patriots, that would have been the first state where a resolution would have been passed declaring that state sovereign from the federal government. 4 days later, of course, we all know what happened.
Thank you, Bill. We'll look forward to Part 5 tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Our Patriot story last night on an IPD sergeant's involvement in the militia has sparked a review by the Indianapolis police chief. Today, Chief Toller consulted with internal affairs investigators. Last night, we told you about IPD Sergeant James Heath, the Johnson County militia leader. While wearing the IPD uniform, Heath spoke to an anti-Semitic Patriot group and referred to Mayor Goldsmith as Goldstein while questioning his courage. He also said he fears the day he may have to choose between IPD and the militia. That concerns the police union president.
Is he a police officer first and foremost? The comment was made that he may someday have to choose, and I hope that day never comes. And I hope that Jim's given a lot of consideration to that, and if that time comes, that he makes the right decision.
Lieutenant Mike Bosley defends Heath's right to speak his mind, but questions whether he should do it while wearing the IPD uniform. Bill Hussung's 4-month investigation into Indiana militias has prompted the discipline of an Indianapolis Police Department sergeant. Sergeant James Heath is the leader of the Johnson County militia. His controversial remarks in a Channel 18 special report were the subject of an IPD internal investigation. Today, the officer learned he is demoted, suspended, and docked pay. Sergeant Heath tells Eyewitness News he will appeal the sanctions imposed by Chief James Toller. Serious and significant is how one IPD source characterizes the punishment handed out to the 29-year veteran. David McAnally is at the City County building, and he joins us with the story this evening. David?
Tom, Sergeant Heath says that he meant no wrong when he made those pro-militia comments while wearing IPD dress blue uniforms. And he was disappointed, he said, that the chief did not ask him for his side of the story first before he imposed the sanctions. These are the sanctions. Sergeant Heath will be demoted to patrolman. He'll take a $5,000 a year pay cut. He'll get the next 30 days off without pay. The penalties stem from Heath's comments aired this week in Bill Hussung's reports, Patriot Powder Keg. While wearing the uniform, Heath talks to an anti-Semitic Patriot group, referring to Mayor Stephen Goldsmith as Goldstein and questioning his courage. And again, while wearing IPD blue, he says he fears he someday may have to choose between IPD and the militia. After reviewing the case for 2 days, Chief Toller found Heath breached discipline and committed conduct unbecoming an officer. One of the issues the chief was worried about was not so much the First Amendment issue, because he did tell us that he felt that the sergeant had a right to express his views as he saw them. He was very concerned, though, that he was wearing the uniform as he expressed them. And the sergeant has supervisory responsibility over younger officers at his post. And the chief was emphatic that he wanted no bad examples set and also wanted nothing out there that would tarnish the reputation of IPD. We're going to have community reaction for you tonight at 11 o'clock on this. Back to you.
Sergeant Heath does have an appeal process open before him.
That's right, and he says he is going to go to the Police Civil merit board and take it up with them and pursue this.
All right. David McAnally, City County Building. Thanks.
Tonight, the focus of our investigators' special report is self-styled militia leader here in Indiana, Linda Thompson. Bill Hussung joins us now with part 5 of his series, Patriot Powder Keg. Bill.
And Tom, good evening. Indianapolis attorney Linda Thompson has played a key role in spreading many of the conspiracy theories militia members accept as gospel. In fact, the current issue of Newsweek magazine reports the Nichols brothers, being held in connection with the Oklahoma City bombing, are big fans of Linda Thompson's work.
The Indiana militia movement was born April 25th, 1993 at this Waco rally organized by Indianapolis attorney Linda Thompson.
We need to stop being afraid of our government. They work for us. We need to tell them that they're going to work for us or they're going to be out of there.
The federal raid on Waco became a battle cry for Thompson, and she began calling for unorganized militias across the country. The idea is to prepare for civil war.
And I don't think there's any question about that. Look at Waco. Look at what happened to those people in Waco. Our government on not live national television murdered 100 people in full color and got away with it.
Today, Thompson's law offices are located in a Beech Grove strip mall. They serve as the headquarters of our American Justice Federation, a key organization in the militia movement nationwide.
Our country is being run by organized crime, that's what I'm telling you.
Thompson produces videotapes distributed to militia members across the country. They explain how many militiamen believe they're being harassed by mysterious black helicopters.
Hilda, another patriot in Mississippi, has been harassed by helicopters and snapped these shots.
The tapes also allege the U.S. government is preparing to enslave Americans in concentration camps, including this Beech Grove Amtrak facility.
All topped by barbed wire, pointing inward, not to keep people out, but to keep people in.
Today, this self-styled general tells us the government is trying to kill her because of her activism, her call for revolution.
I have nothing to lose. I'm not going to die and leave this country under a one-world dictatorship for my children.
Thompson claims agents have already killed her dog. This militia leader tells us the government is now using top-secret electromagnetic weapons to zap her office workers.
Amy's sitting at the desk and somebody zapped her with something that just caused her excruciating, intense, immediate pain.
They've even zapped the general herself.
It's debilitating. It causes you just to drop to your knees, to feel real weak, like you've just had a stroke. Or,
and that's happened to you?
Yeah. It's happened to Amy, it's happened to Stella, it's happened to the visitor to my office. And whatever this, and then it's not always here, obviously. It's not here right now, or I wouldn't be sitting here.
Thompson's Justice Federation runs a computer bulletin board providing militia members with a constant stream of rumors and conspiracy theories.
Linda Thompson is a controversial figure even within the militia. In fact, the whole militia network is so paranoid, there are militia members who suspect Thompson herself of being a federal agent.